Madeleine?
Oh, nice. Thank you. So what do we owe the pleasure of?
Oh, YouTube videos have to always open now with some kind of visual hook, right? To give people something to focus on other than our chattering mugs.
Which are going to be chatting about what today, pray tell?
Well, Madeleines, obviously. All the different varieties of Madeleine.
Starting no doubt with...
Bruce.
Oh. I thought we were going to talk about, Madeleine, your...
My sister.
Yeah.
Yes, but... I have to smuggle in a little bit of Proust, right? Madeleine's Proust being semiotically twinned, we could say.
Well, we've got, 50 minutes to dedicate to Madeleines or anything else.
I've been thinking about, the cakes, right? Ever since I listened to this podcast called The Critic and Her Publics, with the ever hot lit crit Merv Emre, taking a whole bunch of, renowned translators and giving them that passage, the Madeleine one, and letting them talk about it.
No sooner had the warm liquid and the crumbs with it touched my palate than a shudder ran through my whole body, and I stopped, intent upon the extraordinary changes that were taking place. An exquisite pleasure had invaded my senses, but individual, detached, with no suggestion of its origin.
That's the one. I think it's like 103 years old now, right? But a pretty sexy rendering, I think we'd all still agree. Thank you, Monsieur Scott Moncrief. Cheers.
Do they mention the, the recent Brian Nelson one? No sooner had the warm liquid and the crumbs with it touched my palate than a shudder ran through my whole body, and I stopped, intent upon the extraordinary changes that were taking place.
Indeed they do. I don't know about you, but I think I have a bit of a soft spot for good old Lydia Davis, maybe because I think she leans a little bit more to the French, right? Without trying to sort of smooth it over a la Moncrief, Scott Moncrief, with all the kind of English niceties. Let me attempt the original. What is it? Mais à l'instant même où la gorgée mêlée des miettes de gâteau toucha mon palais, j'ai tressailli, attentif à ce qui se passait d'extraordinaire en moi. Which Davis renders as, but at the very instant when the mouthful of tea mixed with cake crumbs touched my palate, I quivered, attentive to the extraordinary thing that was happening in me.
I don't know, I'm not so sure about the quivering.
Yeah, so Scott Moncrief and all the others, right, they turn tressailler into a noun phrase. A shudder ran through me, or what's the Kilmartin, the Emrite? The shiver ran through me. James Grieve, I guess trying to distinguish himself, albeit minimally, from the Scott Moncriefian forebears, he goes for a thrill ran through me, but only Proust and Lydia keep the experience inside the speaker's body in real time. Je tressaillis, writes Proust. I quivered, writes Davis.
Did you know Proust had originally in mind nothing more exalted than toast for the crumbs that were deliciously communing with the tea in his mouth? It was only later that he seized on the idea of the Madeleine, not for its taste necessarily, but for, the form, the scallop shell shape, echoing the badge of Saint Jacques, worn by the pilgrims on Road de Santiago, Compostela, and all of that. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, the two pair really well with this Lao song Shui Xian Oolong that we've got going here. So, thanks for bringing this. Good combo. Original recipe?
Kinda. If you go hunting for that sort of thing online, you'll see that there's no definitive record for exactly how Proust Madeleines or the Madeleines he would have had access to at the time were once baked. But there is this traditional French recipe, often referred to as La Madeleine de Marcel Proust, La Madeleine de Marcel Proust, Max. And it's basically equal parts butter, flour, nearly the same amount of sugar, plus a spoon of honey, pinch of salt, and 2 eggs. This little batch, though, is made with plant butter, stevia in place of the sugar, and spelt flour instead of the wheat, so as to be easier on our sensitive little tummy tum-tums.
Well, thank you. So, I suppose that's the throat clearing done. Or as Proust might have put it, I don't know, let's leave the vestibule and step into the drawing room, shall we?
Right, then, if we have to.
Yeah.
Madeleine.
You two still not talking, you and your sister Madeleine.
Madeleine has officially checked out. Madeleine has left the building. James Brown has left the building. Madeleine, beep, has left the building.
Why?
Well, in the last message she sent me, she laid the blame on my, deleting our WhatsApp thread one day in a kind of drama queen 4 move, and this basically was the end of it. She's never forgiven the annulment.
Strange. Enneagram 5s are usually a little bit more sanguine with these things, aren't they?
Yeah, but let's not forget she's, Enneagram 5, but with the kind of the mad 4 wing and an even madder kind of SX dominance, as well as having that, I would say, slightly paranoid overthinking 6 fix. Think of the where it all started, right? All my friends hate me, etc.
What would you say is her embodied intelligence about?
I don't know. I'd say, what do you think? 9? 9 leading into 8. You know how sweetly stubborn those little 9-wing 8s can be. Yeah.
So is this a question of personality, or were maybe Madeleine, Rob, Rez, the handful of beings who drifted last year through that little portal that you open on YouTube, were they ever really people? Or, I don't know, maybe something closer to the gods? No, really. Hear me out. Think about it, right? What do we become when we are on YouTube, doing our YouTubing, our gazing, our viewing? Is it not a little bit like walking along, those cobbled streets of wherever, Rye, Bruges, if you want to go Euro, just sort of walking along those streets, peering into one of the little terrace cottages where no one bothers with the net curtains, lingering for a few seconds, maybe a couple of minutes if no one's home. And I don't know, you want to check out the decor. But do we ever stop when we're playing at cards to knock on the door and introduce ourselves and get acquainted? No, we just sort of stand there, right? Take it all in. That's the position of a god, distant, omniscient, non-committal. You didn't have to seek out Madeleine or Rez or Rob or any of the subscribers who would perhaps be better called onlookers, spectators, voyeurs. These entities simply drifted past and peered through the rectangular window of you, me, your personal portal, and on a whim looked in as a god might kind of idly peruse a leaf or a cloud. That's the gaze you're dealing with here. Is it any surprise that it's a somewhat fickle one?
So you're basically saying that the subscribers, like Madeleine, at the time, who I thought was befriending me, the ones I thought that that I was getting to know, and they were getting to know me back, etc., etc. What you're saying is they weren't really moral agents in the way that we would normally assign to those embodied entities we interact with, like here, but more like sort of ancient gods.
Look back across world mythologies, right? It's always the same pattern. The old gods weren't really ever gods, were they? I mean, they were just the face of nature or reality painted with human features. Nature's indifference with occasional flashes of violence or bounty, dressed up as a Zeus or a Yahweh or a Quetzalcoatl. The storm that crushes your crops, the plague that takes your children, maybe even your wife and your children. To survive those very real traumas, I mean, what could we do? We had to invent stories about these entities, greater than us. So we essentially spin our human mask for the sky and the sea, call them gods, and then fall under the spell of our own inventions, entranced as us humans always are by our capacity to essentially people the void.
But aren't the gods supposed to, somewhat care about us, take some interest in us in some way? At least the Judeo-Christian God that, at least Madeleine believes in, our Father who art in heaven, etc.
Oh, no. The gods don't mirror back, right? The gods don't care. Cold indifference, more like, if you're lucky. Because usually, right, if you're unlucky, they do notice you and try to remind you of your smallness. Take Niobe, boasts of her children. Next thing, Apollo and Artemis, hearing her do this, step in, slaughter them. Odin, hanging 9 nights on a tree, no god, hears him. Same deal with Jesus, with all of us. Yes, we may cry out, we may bleed, we may dance and raise a general hullabaloo, but don't expect to be noticed in your silly human attention seeking by the gods. Or if you are, it's a godly eye and ear that, one draws down from the heavens, a kind of Madeleine.
Yeah, but they're very toying with us. Is that not a kind of noticing?
Yeah, kinda, but I don't know how much of that noticing is palpable rather than kind of parasocially staged, performed, carefully curated by, or for the most part, these distant, silent entities, right? Which is why we now have built for ourselves all of these new and improved gods. Not the gods of the storm or the sea or the fire, but us therapists. Look at the great and the good of that archetype. The Gabor Matés, the Esther Perels, the Brené Browns, and all the other prophets in our feeds, speaking with the cadence of sages. These are the deities of now because they do what the old gods never did. They look at us, they listen, they notice. Yes, we still have to offer them sacrifices, we still have to, pay for their presence. And we do, you pay a good deal. But, of course, these are incredibly costly, these emotional labourers, and only because they look, they listen with seeming care, and we feel their presence when they're doing this. I mean, they don't look, listen, or notice us out of some altruistic or selfless spirit, for they too are human, our modern gods, but at least they seem to, I don't know, meet our gaze, even if only through a lens, even if only for a fraction. The old gods sort of thundered and destroyed, but they never really stooped to listen. These ones, you know, the trauma whisperers, the sex and relationship gurus, the vulnerability evangelists, they all tilt their heads, you know, furrow their brows, and mostly respond in ways that mimic a kind of intimacy. And no wonder then that we mistake it for intimacy, and so we bow, not before the storm of the sun, but before the flicker of their attention, packaged in these nice 50-minute units, you know, billed weekly.
Blimey, you've given yourself a lot of long speeches this time. I thought this was my session.
Think of a child saying, you know, look. The act isn't finished until someone else actually does look. We need therapists as well as the silent ones, the Madeleines, to look and notice us, even if we're never really aware of them when they're doing this. You know, we still need these gods. Please like and subscribe. Dear silent Madeleines, like and subscribe. Make what we see, think, feel, exist for a time, you know, be real beyond the confines of our own skulls, our own ego cages. Nimikitapa, nimikitapa, nimikitapa. But it's like that, isn't it? I mean, it's all there in Madeleine's dream, right? Madeleine's dream, you remember? The dream that Madeleine shared with you at the end of last year in one of your daily voice notes to each other. The one that you wrote down and kept on that board, you know, the magnetic boards above your bed, because you knew it contained a mythos that would, as all myths do, kind of make or break this friendship. Do you want me to read it for you? It's just in the other room. I'll go get it. Hang on. It's not in the other room. I think you took down the boards to start painting, right? And I think, are they in the shed? Okay, hang on. Oh crap, they're not in the shed either. Where did we put it? It's not in the shed either. But I know I put it somewhere for this session. Because I knew I knew this was gonna be my grand finale. Where the frick is it? Oh, right. Ah, bloody hell. I can't find it. It's like, I don't know, it's like the letter doesn't want, it's like it doesn't want to be read, or, I don't know, one of the Madeleines has stolen into the house. I'm pretty sure, anyway, I have a copy of the original transcript that I made somewhere here. Let me see. Here it is. Okay. So this is the dream that Madeleine shared with you at the end of last year, right? And you wrote it down because you kind of realized, I think, that it contained some kind of mythos that would either, you know, make or break this connection. And we talked about it at the time, and I don't think it was very clear really to us at the time what this dream was about, but I think if I read it to you now, I dreamed that I was awaiting the start of a Christian concert in a room with windows behind the stage and rows of shadowy bookshelves across the other side of the room. I was among the books when I was tackled by 4 to 5 friendly dogs, enjoying their goofy affection. I stood up and went to the windows, and there you were, but I was naked. So I ducked down below the sill to hide my nakedness and pointed to the door by which you might enter. I ran back to the bookshelves where I found a zip-up sweater dress, put it on, and ran to the door to meet you. We hugged and kissed in a sort of couldn't help myself way and sat down to listen to the music. The band started playing and it was a sort of mystic kirtan unlike anything I'd heard before. We sat listening, ecstatic, you, me and Max, an energy flowing between us, where thighs and shoulders touched, an energy flowing through the room on the wings of the music. The Christian music would come in its time, I intuited, for this space was made to contain all that which is divine and mystical, especially music and poetry. I was thinking when I reread this, I was thinking, usually we give these things come in 3, like music and poetry, and so what's the third? What's the missing third here?
Love is here, love is gone, love approved. Anyone can change their mind. Love is time, love is space. Love will help you find a place to come inside. What is the reason for it? Why is it there? Is it my body or my brain? Nobody understands it. They all believe that it will all make sense someday. Love is war, love is peace. Love is such a tasty treat, but when it's done